Amazing. We're excited to have you. My name's Aviva. I'm the co-founder of Kitchens for Good. We are just going to let a few more of our friends hop in this Zoom and we'll get started very soon. We hope you have your drink materials ready, your cooking materials ready for a really fun conversation and cooking class. Feel free to introduce yourself in the meantime in the chat with your name and any favorite quarantine cooking dishes you've been making recently. We will get started in just a few. Love seeing so many familiar faces.
Hey, Jody, I see you. All right.
It's good to be back in my kitchen for these, you know?
I know, like, it's so appropriate.
Yeah. All right, we are going to get started and we'll have a few more guests join us as we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Aviva. I'm the co-founder and senior director at Kitchens for Good. And we are really happy to have you here at a really special virtual Dinners for Good. For those who may be new to these, we've been hosting bi-weekly cooking classes online to help raise awareness and raise funds for the work of Kitchens for Good during the pandemic. At Kitchens for Good, we use kitchens to nourish communities and transform lives. And we do that by training men and women who are overcoming histories of incarceration, homelessness, and foster care, and help them launch their careers in the culinary and hospitality industry. And our students are practicing those skills by preparing thousands of meals for hungry San Diegans. And since the pandemic has started, we've prepared over 200,000 meals. And so all of your support with your donations and registration is really going such a long way to help nourish the community and also to help provide opportunities to our new cooks and bakers as they launch their career. So we're so excited for tonight. This is kind of the newest and greatest Dinners for Good because we're getting to kind of combine our love of food and drink with also something that is so dear and important to us right now, which is voting and this upcoming election and being civically engaged in so many issues that are facing our community right now. So we were super excited to be joined by the League of Women Voters. Hello, Lori. We are joined by the president, Lori Thiel. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. It's so exciting to be here. I am very appreciative of this opportunity to talk to you and your attendees here tonight and all the cooks and the mixologists who are tuning in to see what's going on tonight. So I'm going to bring a little bit of voting to tonight's program and maybe we'll learn something here.
Awesome. And I'll give a quick shout out to the chefs before passing it back to you, Lori. So we are joined tonight by Jamie Stout, the brand ambassador of Koval Distillery. This is a super woman-powered event, and I learned that Koval Distillery is one of the only women-owned distilleries. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're one of the few distilleries owned by women. So our president's a female based in Chicago, and she's so involved with so many different amazing organizations, and she's like, oh, I have to go speak at the United Nations next week, and we're like, of course you do. She's fantastic. She's amazing. So very strong woman. Love to be a part of this awesome women group tonight. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Welcome. And then we have two amazing vegan chefs, Chef Nicole, the chef and owner of Fresh Creations, and Chef Katie, the chef and owner of Katie's Healing Kitchen. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. All right, we're going to get to cooking and drinking very soon. But first, I'm going to pass it over to Lori to kind of give a little overview of League of Women Voters for us.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much. I want to just give you a tiny bit of background because I don't want to hold up the fun here tonight. But the League of Women Voters is an organization that's celebrating this year our 100th anniversary. We were founded the same year that women earned the right to vote. And we have been supporting women and now voters of all kinds throughout the history of our 100 years. We're a nonpartisan organization, and we do voter empowerment, education, and advocacy. So tonight I'll be talking about advocacy, information and education opportunities for voters. And I just want to say before we get started, it's really easy to become disillusioned with national politics. But I want to remind you all that on your ballot this year, there are so many opportunities for you to become engaged citizens and to affect your communities locally. You don't even have to necessarily spend so much time thinking about federal issues, because on your ballot there are 12 state propositions that allow you to look at everything from taxes and rent control to criminal justice and civil rights, as well as medical issues. So I want to encourage everybody to register to vote and to be an engaged citizen and an active participant in our communities and our civil engagement tonight.
Amazing, thank you. So to lubricate the conversation about these very important issues, we're gonna get started with a delicious drink made by Jamie. Take it away.
All right. Hi guys, so I'm just gonna give you a real quick background on Caval. We're based out of Chicago. Again, woman owner, it's a family company. Everything we make, and we do a lot of whiskeys too. So the gin is just one side of what we have. Everything we make is organic, and it's also kosher, which is great. And we're actually the largest family-owned craft distillery in the country. So you can find us at lots of different places. Bevmo is just taking on our bourbon and our cranberry gin. So hopefully some of you have it, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So I'm going to start with the cranberry gin right now. So this is a cranberry gin liqueur. So the base of it is our dry gin, which you see over here. And we add organic cranberries. So it's very, very tart. And then we have inverted sugar. So if it's a liqueur, it has to have sugar. That's just basically what it means. It's inverted sugar is just a fancy name for glucose and fructose. So I'm going to do a super simple cocktail. If you have this and you want to just pour a little bit and try it by itself, what's fun about it is it's kind of everything ready to go. We made something super user friendly. So this particular liqueur has a gin base, so it has a lot of depth to it, but it's very, very tart, again, with the cranberries, and then sweet with the sugar. So one of the things you can do with it is add ice and soda water, or Prosecco, which I really like, or a little soda water, a little Prosecco, but it's great. So that can be like a spritz. So it's super simple, and it's really hard to mess up, and it's kind of fun and delicious too. So I'm gonna make the most easy drink for you. I just have ice. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. This is a jigger. Some people are scared by jiggers. All jiggers are different. Some are ½ ounce, some are 1 ounce, 1 ounce, 2 ounce. So I'm not even gonna do it. I'm just gonna put it down. I'm gonna pour it in the glass. So this is so easy to make.
I like it, keep it simple.
So we're not even gonna jigger it. So just pour to how bad your day is and where you make it. And
so this gets stronger and stronger the closer to election we get?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just pour. Don't be afraid of mixing, and you can always go back and add or just drink. And don't be afraid, just pour. Okay, and so now I've got bitters. So bitters, again, don't be scared. This is a traditional bitters. There's a lot of difference in bitters, and they're actually really fun. When you get more comfortable making cocktails, you know, bitters really make a big difference. I'm actually going to use the black walnut bitters because I just think it kind of adds an extra fall element to it. And when they say dash, it really just means dash, and you're good. So again, don't overthink it. It's, you know, it's really hard to mess up a cocktail, especially during COVID when you just need it so much. And if you have 3 children, distance learn, you really need it. So then this one's, I just got a spiced apple cider at Trader Joe's, but any apple cider you can do. And I'm pouring it. Here I go. I'm pouring it. This is the easiest drink ever.
That cider is so good. It makes everything taste a little bit more fancy.
Yeah,
like,
and it's really good.
Not sponsored by Trader Joe's, but it's really good.
Guys, if you end up liking this, and if you guys grabbed a bottle of it, it's so fun for Thanksgiving too, for obvious reasons with the cranberry element. But in champagne flutes, you just put a little bit of the cranberry and then put some Prosecco in it. And if you want to be fancy, do like a twist of a lemon or something. Okay, so I'm stirring again. Got a fancy spoon, don't need a fancy spoon. You can use a chopstick, whatever you want. So just stirring it a little bit, just to kind of mix. Again, not even in a shaker tonight, just making it simple. And then I just cut some some apple slices, and again, garnish goes a long way if you're trying to impress people. So that's an apple. So this is super simple drink. You could use different bitters. Again, if you don't have the apple cider and you have enough soda water or any sparkling wine or Prosecco around, cheers. I hope you guys like it. So
cheers.
Cheers.
Yum. Thank you, Jamie. All right, so Lori, I'm going to throw it back to you, and maybe you can start just by giving us a little overview on, this is a pretty crazy year for voting. We're kind of relying a lot on mail-in voting, and I know there's a lot of fear, misinformation, nervousness. So can you just walk us through this process a bit?
Absolutely. There are so many reasons to be afraid at this time. So Halloween's coming up, and Halloween, it turns out, is the first day of in-person voting at 235 polling locations. So in addition to all the other things we get to think about, you're absolutely right. This year voting is going to be a little bit different than it has been in the past years. This year, every active registered voter in California will automatically receive a ballot in the mail, a vote by mail ballot. In the past, you had to register for that, but this year, we're all going to get one, all of us, because we're all registered voters and we're active. So we're all going to get our ballots, and we probably have already gotten them. They were mailed on the 5th, and you might have already seen yours in the mail. If yours hasn't arrived by the 12th, you just go to, you can check it, you can check for it, and you can actually track it. There's a ballot tracking app called Where's My Ballot, and you can register for it at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov. Super easy. You can follow your ballot all the way from the Registrar of Voters to your mailbox and back. And that's the beauty. So after you've voted and you've turned it in, you can actually find out where it is by continuing to track it. You'll have 126 secure drop box locations across San Diego County to drop your ballot in. You can obviously return it by mail. It's a vote by mail ballot, but if you decide to do that, I recommend you give yourself plenty of time for the post office to get it to the Registrar of Voters. It must be postmarked by Election Day, which is November 3rd. So make sure that you get it in the mail before then and postmark so it has plenty of time to get there. The Registrar of Voters in San Diego will give that ballot up to 17 days after November 3rd to arrive. So we've got some leeway, but as an active voter, you don't want to rely on that. You want to get your ballot in as soon as you've learned how you want to vote and you've taken advantage of all the voting materials I'm going to provide for you here tonight. You'll be ready to vote, and you can get that ballot in a drop box or in the mail as soon as possible. So as I said earlier, there'll be 235 polling locations this year. Like you were saying, it's not going to be like it has been in years past. You're not going to have access to your local community neighborhood polling place. You know, in years past, perhaps you would go on election day to a local school or, you know, somebody's garage, perhaps you would cast your ballot there. This year, that's not going to happen. Instead, there are going to be what are called super sites. There will be 235 of them. They'll be all throughout the county. When your ballot comes, if you look on the back of it, it'll tell you where yours is, where the closest one to you is. And if you still need additional information, you can go to our Registrar of Voters here in San Diego County. It's called, the website is sdvote.com, sdvote.com, and you can go on their site and find a whole list of those 235 polling locations with the addresses on there as well.
Hey, Lori, can you tell me how secure the ballot boxes are at those locations?
They're very secure, and they're staffed, so you don't have to worry at all. The Registrar of Voters, our organization works very closely with the registrar to ensure a safe and secure election, and our registrar is on it and has been on it from the beginning. Those drop boxes are very secure. There is no need to worry or fear. And let me just add this too. The incident, I know that people talk about fraudulent voting, etc., but it is vanishingly small. There is really no evidence of voter fraud in this country. You know, it's a 0.0003%. So there's no reason to fear voter fraud. The only thing you or we as voters need to remember is to pay attention to the ballot measures and the candidates that we like, make sure that we mark them on our ballot, make sure we get that ballot in. Another thing, one of the main reasons ballots are rejected by the Registrar of Voters is, well, timing. That's why I'm stressing time here. And your signature, make sure you sign the back of your ballot. Even if you don't vote every single item on your ballot, you still need to sign it to make it official and acceptable to the registrar of voters. So it's a real easy, simple solution. Just make sure you sign and fill out as much as you are comfortable filling out.
Awesome.
Great information. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Should we hop over to our cooking and then we'll get back to Prop 17?
Sure.
Sounds good.
All right. So next up, we are going to pass it over to Chef Nicole. We
Oh,
can't
can't
hear
hear you. We cannot hear you.
All in a day's work on Zoom, right? Nope, not yet.
Nope.
Oh, Danny, can you unmute her?
Yeah, I'm looking for her. Sorry,
Thanks
guys.
for bearing with us, folks. We're live.
All right, maybe we'll go to Yoli because I can't find her.
All right, so we will come back to Nicole very shortly while we figure out the.
There she is. There she is.
Oh.
I found her. Sorry. Yep.
Okay.
Nicole, you just have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Perfect.
Okay. All right.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm really excited to be here to feature one of my favorite fall soups. So this is a curried butternut squash bisque. And it's really great because it's loaded with a bunch of really nutritious vegetables. Sorry, there's that one annoying fly. There's always the one. But you're going to love it. It's a really, so sorry. It's really filling. It's savory. It's hearty. And it like screams fall. It also, since it involves butternut squash, is quite the workout. I don't know how many of you often like to use butternut squash, delicata squash, any sort of pumpkin, but it's not always so easy. So I'm going to show you my favorite way to cut it and peel it and just try to make it as easy as possible for you, and hopefully some really great tips that you can use for other squash this fall and winter season as well. So let's go ahead and start with that. Go ahead and grab your butternut squash. Also important, get we're gonna steam it. I love steaming all of my vegetables. Just steaming is a great way to retain the nutrients within the vegetable itself. So I like a steamer basket, which I have some steaming because it does take a little while and I know we're kind of pressed for time. So I have additional squash and carrots steaming, but we're gonna get the process started for all of you. And then we're gonna move over. We're going to be shifting gears a little bit. We're going to move over to our curried chickpeas, which are a really phenomenal gluten-free alternative to a crispy crouton. So we're going to have some curried chickpeas that are going to be a nice garnish on top of our really delicious, creamy butternut squash bisque. And then we'll switch back over and finish the rest of the soup. So stop me if I'm going too fast, and we'll get started. So I always wash everything that I'm going to be cutting. So this is pre-washed, and go ahead and let's cut off each end of our butternut squash. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I've learned recently a fun fact about butternut squash. Oh, and I like to have something handy nearby just to kind of throw all my trash or like your peels and stuff in, just to kind of keeps it nice and clean in the kitchen, and you can toss that as you need to, but that's also another fun tip. So our friends in Australia, so again, cut off the ends, and then I'm going to go ahead and just cut it lengthwise down the center. So they refer to butternut squash as butternut pumpkins, which I thought was a fun little fact there. And again, just be really careful because this can be super dangerous. So serrated knives are really great. There we go. We're cutting it down the middle, kind of both ends. So I like to do it as I can to one end and then flip it, do the other. And then I lucked out. There's like barely any seeds in here. Usually this is not the case. The larger the butternut squash, the more seeds you're gonna find inside. But you will take a spoon.
I had this whole question for you about what do you do with your seeds, chef? And like, no, like you don't even have any seeds to do anything.
I literally don't even have a single seed. I don't know if that's ever happened.
I've never seen that before.
I think that's hilarious. But so now we're taking out the seeds. you can definitely use them just as you would, like I used to growing up with my mom. We would carve our pumpkins for Halloween, and then we would roast our seeds, and it's such a great snack, just super healthy. And then, you know, we're always trying to limit as much waste as we can in the kitchen as well. It's really important to me, and I know that's very important to Kitchens for Good as well. And so now you should hopefully have all your seeds taken out, and then we are going to grab a potato peeler. So go ahead and get that handy if you don't have it already. And I like to, since you've cut off both the ends, it's really easy to stand up now. So simply just kind of peel away that outer peel. You can make a little mess if you have to, because I don't know if there's a neat way to do this. But it's pretty efficient, and you're not using your knife, which you can often hurt yourself doing, as far as I'm concerned, just because the peels are sometimes so thick. So this kind of gives you a different alternative. You can actually take your peeler and just move upwards to get that part on the bottom if that's giving you any trouble. And I love butternut squash. It's one of my favorite fall and winter vegetables. It's loaded with vitamin A. Why is vitamin A important? Well, it's great for your skin. It's great for your eye health. Huge amounts of dietary fiber. It's low in calories as well. So you really can't go wrong. When you see the butternut squash, you're not going to be intimidated by it anymore in the store. Because now we got our workout in, we're getting all of our nutrients in. If you have seeds, you're roasting them. So here's one side, we're done. Again, I kind of just clean as I go. I think that's one of the best tips I learned in culinary school. So you're not stuck with a huge mess at the end. And
did you get that squash from Market Box? Did that come in your Market Box?
Yeah,
awesome.
It did. Yeah. So did anyone else's in Market Box have a bunch of seeds and I was the only one?
I know, I'm wondering. Chef, do you have a favorite spot for produce when you're shopping?
So with everything I try to do with Fresh Creations, we try to purchase as much local produce as possible. So one of my favorites right now, we're actually supplying our weekly meal delivery service with their squashes within the next few weeks. Spaghetti squash, butternut squash, pumpkins from Dragon Organics. It's a farm in San Pasqual. I live in San Pasqual, and it's close here to the kitchen. So they actually come and drop it off at my house sometimes. So it really can't get any better than that. But what I love about it is they're also a school that supports foster children. So it kind of just speaks near and dear to my heart. So JR Organics, anything from a local farmer's market, just try and support as many local farmers as possible. That was one of my visions and goals when I started my business. So now we have both of our butternut squashes peeled. You may or may not have yours peeled already, just depending on how big yours was or small. And then I like to cut it right down like this, and you're cutting it into these little pieces here, and then you'll be cutting it in, again, 2 or 3 pieces. Since we're steaming this, and this is really important in any time that you're cutting vegetables to roast or saute or blanch, whatever the case may be, you want to try and cut them all equally the same size. And that's important because you want them to cook evenly. So if you have, you know, those really big pieces and then the super small pieces, I'm sure you've noticed that you're going to end up with some little burnt pieces, maybe if you're roasting some sweet potatoes or something, and then your other bigger pieces are still not done. So that's really where your knife skills come into play. So again, I'm just going to take them and make about like little cubes, about medium-sized cubes. Make sure you see that okay. Mm-hmm. And then would throw them in our steamer basket. So I'm just going, again, mine are already steaming, so I'm just going to put it, can you grab me one more thing? Okay, thanks, Kitty. You're putting that right in your steamer basket. Also really important to have a sharp knife. So I've learned, and sometimes it's the hard way, if I'm like, oh, and I don't cut corners. So if I'm like, okay, I don't have that much time, I'm not going to sharpen my knife. But that actually, a dull knife is one of the most common ways to get injured in the kitchen. So cutting them all about the same size, putting them in your steamer basket. And then I'm only going to do 1/2 for now in the interest of time. But you would do the same with the other one. You're going to cut it down this way and then make cubes with it. And then you're going to go ahead and get your carrots. So this isn't, you know, everyone's carrots, these are pretty big carrots that I got in the market box. Everyone's carrots are so different, right, in size. So typically I like to do about like 3 to 4 carrots, depending on the size. I'm gonna go ahead and do 3 right now, just because they're pretty big. And I don't peel these. They are washed, but I try not to peel. I don't really peel, same with Katie. Katie actually taught me this. We don't like to peel because the skin has all the nutrients. So we want to retain as many nutrients as possible, especially since we're steaming our soup. And we're going to make this pretty easy. We're just going to cut our carrots around the same size as we did our butternut squash, so that, again, it steams around the same time. And I like to save as much as I can for our homemade vegetable stock. So I would save this. I save all peels if I am peeling something. And it goes right into our homemade stock. And we make so many soups with it. So go ahead and you're just finishing cutting your carrots.
So I'll keep like veggie scraps in my freezer and then like make stock. I made stock today, like just defrost it, fill it with water. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with, I mean, I know we're living through a pandemic, but cold and flu season, your traditional cold and flu season, I guess, I always keep some extra stock in my fridge at home just because it's so flavorful and it's really nutritious, and it's just something that's so good for you, and it's really comforting too. So again, we're gonna go ahead and put our butternut squash and our carrots into our steamer basket.
Now we got kitchen magic, a little bit kitchen magic.
Yeah, no kitchen magic. It just appeared.
Here we are, fresh, steamy, and everything. If you can see that. So we're gonna move on right now. I'm gonna give everyone just a couple seconds, and I'll get our chickpeas ready. But because our chickpeas take a little bit of time, we're gonna go ahead and get those started. So if you haven't done so, go ahead and preheat your oven, excuse me.
While the veggies are steaming and stuff, do you want to hop over to Yoli and things so people can catch up?
Perfect. Lori, could you give us a little bit of an overview of Prop 17? So we wanted to touch on a couple of the propositions that are really pretty critical to the communities that Kitchens for Good serves, those who are coming out of incarceration, homelessness, and foster care. And this election, we get to really vote on a lot of those issues. So one of those issues is Prop 17.
That's right. This is a very exciting election year. And Prop 17, as you said, is relevant to your organization and all of us as citizens in this society. It restores the right to vote for people on parole after they've completed their prison term. So currently, California law prohibits people who are serving a prison term or who are on parole from voting. But after a person completes their parole, the right to vote is automatically restored. This proposition would allow people who have finished their prison term but are on parole to earn the right to vote. So that's in essence the proposition.
Perfect. So we asked one of our current apprentices who's participating in our 20-month apprenticeship program to relaunch her career to speak with us a little bit about her experience and her perspective on this ballot proposition. So I'm really excited to introduce to you all Yoli, one of our current apprentices.
Hi everybody. I'm really nervous, but I'm actually really excited. I had no idea how big, so I'm a little emotional. And actually I want to say hi to Lori and congratulations on being part of 100 years. If I would be celebrating 100 years, I would take the sign home too. Yeah, so it's just, yeah. So I'm new to the program. Actually, I'm part of something that I believe is extremely amazing, apprenticeship for management, food service management. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. I was recently released from serving 3.5-year prison sentence. I'm currently on parole, and I am not allowed to vote. I'm required to basically reintegrate back to society, to work, to have a home, to pay taxes. But I'm not allowed to voice as a voter, which I strongly believe voting is part of being American. Currently, people that are in county jail, released on probation, are able to vote. However, parolees from state and federal prisons are discriminated against. But because of second chance programs, like Kitchens for Good, that open their doors to probation, parolees, and have an equal opportunity, and actually among others, it gives us an opportunity to further educate ourselves and to have hands-on training to become part of society, back to reinstate back to society. And I believe, I don't know, Lori, you can correct me on this, but California is one of 3 states left that do not allow parolees to vote.
I think we will join the 16 states that do allow. So, I mean, I think that states are beginning to see that it's important to provide this opportunity and this right, restore this right to people who are, as you said, working in their communities and have served their prison terms and are out paying taxes, et cetera, et cetera. In the case of Prop 17, this would actually change our state's constitution to restore this voting right to you and everybody else who's on parole.
That's basically, you know, the reason that I do encourage everybody to be a part of a second chance program and to support and to vote yes in Prop 17, because our voice matter, our vote matters. And I just, you know, want to thank you everybody for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yoli.
There are about 50,000 people on parole right now in California, and Yoli's story is just one of the stories of people out there right now who are unable to vote, who've been disenfranchised because of the Constitution. So we can change that with Prop 17, depending on whether it passes.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, Nicole, we're going to go back to you to, I think we were at chickpeas, if I recall.
That's right. So we are, can you still see me? Okay, there I am.
Yep.
So we are making curried crunchy chickpeas, and this is a great snack that comes together. So if you don't want to only use it as a garnish for soup, they're a really healthy snack. Great for kids' lunches. Great to have. I don't know about all of you, but the quarantine 5 or 10 pounds, like I've been one to gain that as well. And so keeping things like this around, I'm pointing to my chickpeas, it's a great alternative to a bag of potato chips. It's super versatile. You can make a pumpkin spice and cinnamon, so they can be sweet or savory, just depending on your preference for that day or week. So go ahead, and you should have your chickpeas dry. So I always like to drain, rinse, and then just let them air dry. And then go ahead and just toss them into a bowl. And from there, you can go ahead and add in your olive oil. So you can use olive oil, avocado oil, it's whatever you have on hand. What I also like to do is, there you go, our chickpeas are in our bowl. An avocado oil spray works really nicely too. So again, supporting another local business. I love Chosen Foods and their avocado spray. So go ahead, and you want to just toss your olive oil in there, and it's really just about like a tablespoon or 2. I can start with like a tablespoon, because you don't want it to be too wet, and then it takes a little bit longer, but you just want to get enough olive oil or avocado oil on there. And I would highly suggest, if you're going to do a sweet crunchy chickpea, to use a coconut oil, so you're getting that different flavor in there as well. Give them a good toss, and then 1 clove of garlic. And go ahead and mince that pretty fine. You want to be able, you don't want huge chunks of garlic when you're going to be eating your crunchy chickpeas. So go ahead, we're going to mince that really easily.
I love that we can actually get spray avocado oil locally. It's not, you can't get that everywhere.
And then if I've been purchasing mine at Costco, and it's a really great, if I don't get it from Chosen Foods directly, it's a really great purchase there, very cost effective. So you have your garlic, your olive oil or avocado spray, and then I have a little bit of curry powder and salt. And it's really just about, if you like a lot of curry powder, I would go a little bit heavier. If you don't prefer that flavor, you can do a little bit, maybe half curry powder, half turmeric. So again, it's entirely up to your flavor profile. I have a little bit of salt in here, and 1 to 2 teaspoons is really all you need. You're gonna give it just a little shake, a little stir, and you're gonna go ahead and put that on a lined with parchment paper baking tray. And go ahead and put that on in the oven. And make sure that they're not really touching each other. So it'll cook more evenly if they're not really on top of each other. So they can be touching, but I just like to spread them out. They turn really nice and crispy as long as they're not on top of each other. Thank you, Katie. Then we're gonna move on. I'll give you a couple seconds to go ahead and get that out of the way and into your oven. And ovens should be preheated at 400 degrees. I would start checking on them around 15, 20 minutes and give them a little stir. And then you'll know when they're ready because they will look like this. They're gonna change color. They're gonna get a little bit darker. So again, some kitchen magic. And then they're gonna have a nice crunch to them. So that's exactly what you're going for. They do burn easily, so I would definitely start watching them. Everyone's ovens are calibrated so differently. So just start watching them around that, at that 25, 35 minute point. And then we're gonna finish with our soup. So go ahead and get a pot ready. We're gonna start sauteing some caramelized onion, and we'll get our pot ready. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna use this so that way you guys can see what I'm doing. So we'll have this going. Get your olive oil, your steamed butternut squash, that should be ready by now. I do recommend a high-powered blender for this soup. An immersion blender actually works just as good. And if you don't have a high-powered blender, that's okay too. It just might take you a few more tries when we're at the end and you want it to be really pureed and super like creamy. So with that in mind, go ahead and get your onion. I'll just move all this over here now. And I don't like red onion for this. So I really do prefer it's so nice having another chef here that can help me.
Yeah, things magically appear.
We couldn't have planned this any better. Katie and I are actually best friends, and I interned with Katie when I graduated from culinary school about 1.5 years ago. So, it's okay. It's not on. 1 sec, we're turning this on. And she's been an incredible mentor along the entire way of starting my business. And now here we are doing this together. So we're super fortunate to be here. So I like to cut both of my ends off of the onion. Go ahead and separate it, and then it's so much easier to peel. I don't know how many times before culinary school it would take me quite a while to take the peel of an onion off, and we don't have time today, especially for that. So you can see how easy that peeled right off. And again, if you're gonna make some homemade stock, go ahead and save that. And then I definitely recommend cutting it into small dice.
Do you have any pro tips about cutting an onion?
Very sharp knife, and to not cry. Is that your point? Like, because I know that's always.
Or like I feel like every chef cuts onions differently, so it's always interesting to see like how.
Yeah, sometimes they do the one on the side and all that.
Yeah.
And I find that it's just easiest to not even do that. I'm all about just, especially when we have 300 meals we're trying to get out. I'm sure a lot of the chefs can relate at Kitchens for Good, but it's kind of just creating like an assembly line of it where you're gonna take the ends off first, you're gonna peel them all, like you do the same thing to everything. So that way you're just working as quickly as you can, because it's just, sometimes we're all in here crying together, but it really is important to just have a super sharp knife and kind of go as quickly as you can. So you have your pot ready, you turn that on about a medium heat. I like to caramelize my onion at a low to medium heat just because it really, the natural sugars come out better that way. And so about a tablespoon or two avocado or olive oil, and we're gonna go ahead and toss these on in. And when you want to use your knife to get your onion or anything off of your cutting board, you turn it upside down so that way you're not dulling your blade. So you're going to turn it upside down, and then you're able to just stamp right there. You're sliding it off into the pot. And you can't really tell, but I only have about 3 tiers right now. So that went pretty well. And then we're going to go ahead with our garlic. I love garlic, so I was super happy with Market Box that they have the garlic that's like, they're huge. I'm still going to go with 2 garlic. If you don't like that much garlic, just go with 1 or a half. It's entirely up to you. So I don't have my mincer here, but I always like to kind of just give your garlic a little bit of a, well, one went off, one garlic clove went flying, but give it a little bit of a bang, and that's going to help your peel come right off as well. So again, sometimes that can just happen. You can take forever taking off a peel. So there we go. The peel came off pretty quickly. And you can even save the peel for your stock. Again, we're trying to avoid as much waste as possible. So that you can keep that as well for later if you'd like. And you just want to cut it the exact same way you would as your onion. This can really be a rough chop just because we are, again, going to be putting this in our blender. So it doesn't really matter if the garlic is cut perfectly. And then go ahead and grab a spatula if you haven't already. And you just want to start sauteing this all together. Again, for the sake of time, I would usually let this get to caramelize maybe within like 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes that long because it would be at a lower heat. But with this and just a short time we have right now, we're just gonna go ahead and saute this for a couple minutes, just get those flavors nicely combined together. And then we are going to add in our already steamed butternut squash and carrots. We have those ready here. And all of yours should be ready by now. Really, it's just as long as they're like fork tender. Mine are pretty easily coming, if I'm just using my finger, they're coming apart. So that's really how you know. I mean, you're not gonna take it right out of the pot and do this, but you'll know with a fork or a knife that it's ready. So again, we would normally caramelize our onion a little bit longer, but we're gonna go ahead and combine all of our yummy, nutritious vegetables into our pot. Thank you. And then just give it a good stir. And now it starts to get really good. This is where I like to start adding in my curry powder and my curry paste. So I like to use both because I feel like my husband and I are huge spice fans, and the curry paste is gonna give you that heat, and the curry powder is gonna give you more of the flavor. That's just my personal opinion. So I have about 1 tablespoon here of curry powder. I'm just gonna go ahead and toss that in. And then again, 1 tablespoon of red curry paste. Now, this would be another option, right? If you wanted to add in that turmeric. And turmeric just it really gives it that amazing yellow flavor, but it has so many nutritional benefits, so you really can't do wrong. If you have some in your kitchen, go ahead and toss it on in. I would probably, depending on the flavor, if you want, I would just start with maybe like a half to a teaspoon, or you can go a little bit heavier. Great for anti-inflammatory properties. There's so many health benefits associated to it. You can go ahead and add in your salt and pepper now if you'd like. Again, you can do that to taste. Maybe a half to a teaspoon of salt, depending on whether or not you're trying to watch your sodium intake. And then you're gonna go ahead and with your vegetable stock, add that in at this point. And I'm just gonna give it a little bit of stir. And then our coconut milk. So coconut milk is a great alternative to maybe your traditional milk, cow's milk, or even like a heavy whipping cream. It's a really great alternative. It's gonna make this biscuit actually like a lot more creamy. Let me get this in the better vision so you can see. There we go.
Ah. You
Sorry,
could have just been
like the whole
tossing it in
time.
like a
You
trash
guys-
No, it's
can,
okay.
girl. We know. No.
And okay, let me get this open. Too many times I've cut like my finger or something on a can. So
Right.
a knife or just something, you know, where you're not really sticking your finger in there. And then just go ahead and add your coconut milk. I love this brand. I get this at Costco as well. It's like the best, the Thai Kitchen Organic.
yeah.
They have a
So good.
6-pack at Costco.
So
It's
good.
phenomenal. And at this point, we need our soup to simmer for about 10 minutes. So if you'd like to head over to Katie or whatever you prefer.
Let's pop over to Lori.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. I can
Thank
already
you.
smell it from over here.
We're going to Lori.
So Lori, what other big ballot propositions are we voting on that are of note this year?
Well, we'll get into that in 1 second. I just want to clarify something I said earlier in regards to just voting in general. When I said to make sure your signature is on, you'll see, and it's perfectly obvious when you get your ballot. The instructions are very clear for us in California. You'll have to sign the envelope. And so just make sure that you follow the instructions and sign the envelope before you pop it in the mail or that secure drop box that we were talking about, or any of the polling places. And I'm going to give you a really quick voting resource tool. It's our website. It's lwvsandiego.org. And if you click on the menu item on the left side of your screen, there will be a page there called voting resources. If you just click that, we have an entire page devoted to pretty much any question you would have. We have links to an online voting guide called Voter's Edge. It's one of the first things you'll see when you get to our page. You can click that and it'll take you immediately to their website, which is actually curated by the League of Women Voters of California, our state league. And the very first page will ask you to input your address and zip code. That's because your ballot is customized to you. So once you put that information in, it will pop up the ballot that belongs to you. It'll have the candidates that you will be voting on. It will have the 12 propositions that the state is that you can vote on that are state propositions, and it will also provide you any local measures in your city or county if you are, depending on where you're viewing from, that are relevant to you, as well as any of the candidates, the local candidates, and of course the national candidates. So those are some good voting resources. I invite you to inform yourself and go to our website and get that information. It's going to help you manage all the propositions that that are on your ballot. There are a lot of them this year. There are 12, as I said earlier, and some of them are really complex. So, but to your question, we'll talk quickly about a couple of the other propositions. There is I think you and I spoke earlier about Prop 25. Do you want to have a quick chat about that?
Yeah. All
right, so Proposition 25, it is a referendum, and it replaces the money bill system in the state of California with a public, I'm sorry, let me just click to my next piece of information. It replaces it with an algorithm that judges can use to assess blight risk and community risk. So it is actually based on SB 10, which came into law, as you know, a couple of years ago, but it was never actually enacted because this is a referendum, as I said, and the SB 10 that came into the legislature a year or so ago was never enacted. It was also to eliminate the money bill system. And so this referendum reviews SB 10. So it would eliminate the current money bill system and replace it with a system based on risk assessment to determine whether a person charged with a crime would be released from jail while awaiting trial. So this is, like I said, another one of the options that we get to vote on as registered voters here in California. And it's a very important opportunity for us to state our position on what we think is important to our society and how our society operates.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about the pen ink color that you use when you're filling out your ballot?
Well, all the information that you need to fill out your ballot appropriately is on your ballot. You'll be, it'll inform you there, but always use black ink. That's always the cleanest, obvious, and safest way to go. Don't use a pencil. And I want to tell people too, as you go through and you read the propositions, some of them may seem confusing or perhaps even irrelevant to you. Perhaps that you will come across some opportunities to vote on things that don't really matter to you or that you're just not that interested in. You know, this isn't a test. Don't feel like you have to complete every item on your ballot because, you know, it's important for you to vote. And if you can just vote on the issues that matter to you and vote for the candidates that you want to represent you, that's voting. That's what voting is. You don't add any stress to it. Don't feel like you have to educate yourself on every nuance of every proposition or ballot measure because, as I said, some of them are pretty complicated and there are pros and cons to everything on your ballot this year. And you can read all about the pros and cons if you want to go to the Voters Edge website that I was referencing earlier. All that information is laid out for you, as well as information about who the supporters are for each proposition and ballot measure and who the opponents are, and the amount of money that they've raised and spent in support of or in opposition to those particular ballot initiatives, and the people behind those. So we follow the money at Voters Edge because a lot of times, you know, the money is what tells you what some of the motivations are behind some of these initiatives that we're voting on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm going to hop back over to the chefs and we're going to get started on our salad. Thank you so much, Lori.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Welcome.
Oh, yay. There you are.
Thank you so much for having us. I am so excited to be here today. Like Danny and Lori said, my name is Katie Farina and I am the owner of Katie's Healing Kitchen, which is a 100% plant-based, yes, plant-based, vegan, gluten-free cooking school where we really focus on using food as medicine. So today I have a really fun salad recipe for you that we're using mostly, actually I shouldn't say all, but mostly local ingredients. So we're gonna be doing a beautiful spring salad, or a beautiful fall salad. And then we're gonna be topping it off with some apple, some roasted sweet potato, and some tempeh bacon. So let's get started first on our tempeh. So what I have over here is I have a non-stick skillet, and I've actually been heating up a little bit of refined coconut oil. Because I am going to be cooking this at kind of a higher temperature, I'm going to be using a refined coconut oil because refined can stand up to the heat. And you'll also notice that I've been heating up my pan and then my oil for about a minute before I add any ingredient to it. And the reason is a lot of times if you add cold ingredients to a cold pan, maybe it's got a little bit of olive oil or something in there, or coconut oil, what's going to happen is instead of frying or getting really nice and crispy in the oil, what's going to happen is it's going to absorb the oil. And so that's why maybe sometimes when you go to your grandma's house or something, you take a bite of her food and it just tastes saturated in oil. And that just kind of means it absorbs instead of got nice and seared. So I can tell that my oil is really nice and hot because I'm putting my hand over it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these San Diego tempeh. If you're not familiar with tempeh, tempeh is amazing. It is a fermented, usually soybean and grain cake, but San Diego tempeh does beans, so it's actually soy-free. So this is amazing. This one's made from chickpeas and sunflower seeds. And then all I've done is I've cut it into almost like little bacon slices, and I have been marinating it in coconut aminos. So coconut aminos is amazing because it is a soy-free soy sauce. Nicole, do you mind just making sure that that looks okay? Or that's okay? Okay.
Hey, you look great.
Okay, awesome. There was a pop-up, so I was like, oh, am I missing something?
Yeah, you look great.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn it down because my oil just started to smoke a little bit. I was just blabbing too much. So anyway, back to coconut aminos. Coconut aminos is, thank you, is a soy-free down. Yeah. Oh, whoops. Soy-free, coconut aminos is a soy-free soy sauce, and it's naturally fermented. So just like tempeh, you're actually getting probiotics. So it's absolutely amazing. And for us vegans and vegetarians out there, the best part about tempeh is it's super meaty, okay? So it's just absolutely delicious. It kind of gives you that, conquers that craving. So while our tempeh is frying, it's gonna take about 2 minutes on each side or so. We are going to work on our salad. So in here, I just have some local mixed greens. Now, these greens are actually pretty big. So I'm gonna take my chef's knife and I'm just going to loosely chop up some of them, just like that, just to kind of get any of those big spinach pieces out of the way. So I have to say, I am so honored to be here with you guys today. Before I went to culinary school and was in the chefing world, I actually worked in group homes. And so I worked for a long time in a group home with 6 boys on probation from juvenile hall. So that's how I kind of got into cooking, was because I would cook with them, because a lot of times in the group home, they would give them, I'm just gonna say it, the shittiest food you can imagine that no one should be eating. Really, really unhealthy stuff. And so I convinced the kind of the manager of the home to give me a small weekend budget of $50, and we would go and get stuff and make green smoothies, and we would make healthier pastas and all kinds of good stuff. So it's really, really amazing what you can do if you get kids and maybe troubled youth in the kitchen, because it's such a creative outlet, but it's also a lot of discipline, which sometimes people need. Okay, so our greens are nice and beautiful, just like this. And then we're gonna make our dressing. So Nicole conveniently just washed the blender for me. Don't you love it when you cook with your best friend?
Called kitchen magic.
Yes, kitchen magic. Okay, so we are gonna add to our blender some olive oil. Now, olive oil is really good to cook at either a low heat or in something like a dressing. You don't really wanna cook olive oil at super high heats. A little bit of maple syrup. A lot of times people ask me, grade A, grade B, Aunt Jemima's, you really want to go with organic grade B maple syrup. Grade B is going to be less processed, so it's going to have more of the minerals, because yes, maple syrup in small moderation is actually pretty healthy. So we're going to add that. And then we're going to add my favorite ingredient, Dijon mustard. I hope you guys like mustard. I'm like, to me, mustard means that it's fall and just amazing. So we're going to add that mustard. And if you don't like mustard, sounds like a personal problem, but you can omit it. Okay. Then we're gonna add in some apple cider vinegar. Now, just like the tempeh, just like the coconut aminos, apple cider vinegar is actually really good source of probiotics because it's a fermented food. So I have a lot of people who will take maybe like a teaspoon or so of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water, and just to get a kind of a dose of probiotics without having to buy all those capsules. And also, apple cider vinegar is amazing for lowering your blood sugar. So if you're gonna have that piece of chocolate cake, have a little apple cider vinegar water before you do, and it's not gonna spike your blood sugar as much when you indulge in that cake, okay? Sorry, was there a question?
I don't know where that's coming from, just go for it.
Okay.
No, I think you're good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so by the way, I don't know if you guys can see, but our tempeh is just beautiful. And Nicole and I are going to devour this. I wish you guys were with us, but I kind of wish you weren't. Okay, hopefully you're just making it along with us. Okay, so we have, again, our olive oil, our maple syrup, our mustard, our apple cider vinegar, and then we're gonna add in some garlic. Now, kind of like what Nicole was saying earlier, I loosely chopped up my garlic, but I didn't do a fine mince because my blender, this is not my normal blender. If you come to my cooking classes, you know my normal blender is named Bertha, but this blender is gonna blend everything to smithereens, so we don't need to worry. But because there is not a ton of liquid in here, it's good to give your garlic clove just a loose chop, just so you make sure that at least some of it was blended. Okay, and then we're gonna add some salt, just like that. And then we are going to magically blend this, so it might be loud for 1 second. Oh, whoops. See, when your best friend comes with you, she reminds you, you also want to add about a tablespoon of water, and that's just going to help thin out the dressing. And also, I know that this is totally not French cooking or whatever, but I like adding a little bit of water to blended salad dressings just because it kind of lightens the calories and the fat a little bit. And because there's so much flavor in here, you can get away with adding a little bit of water, not too much. Okay, but let's blend this. Okay, and then we are going to taste our salad dressing. So the number one thing I see in my cooking school is people will just make something and then they'll just serve it as is. You have to be tasting each step along the way, because maybe it just needed a touch of salt. Maybe it needed that hint of lemon juice or whatever. So by tasting along the way, you make sure that when you get the final product to your dinner table, it's actually delicious. I have this problem with my husband. I say, he'll serve, you know, he'll make soup or something and he'll bring it to the table and I go, did you taste it? Never taste it. So weird. Oh my gosh, so delicious. You guys are gonna love it. It's like maple mustard deliciousness. Okay, by the way, no reason to ever store-bought salad dressing. Make a big batch of this, keep it in a mason jar. It'll last at least 2 weeks in your refrigerator and you have the best salad dressing that takes less than 30 seconds to make and is totally healthy. Oh, I just still am tasting maple and mustard and it's just so delicious. Okay, so we're gonna toss our salad greens just like that. And I'm doing a little bit and then Nicole and I will be savages later and add way more. Right, Nicole? Okay. So we have our beautiful salad greens. Now, I know sometimes salads can get really boring. So this is a really great way to make a salad absolutely delicious, because we're not just doing some tomato and cucumber slices. We're really adding some good protein and some good flavor. So we have our salad greens. Whoops. Then I'm gonna add in some roasted sweet potato. Now, I think this is the Okinawa sweet potato, which is actually kind of purple on the outside and white on the inside. And that's still a sweet potato. It's actually one of the healthiest sweet potatoes out there. But I really like personally doing the orange sweet potato because it's just more fall, Thanksgiving kind of looking when you have those juxtapositions of colors. And then we're gonna add in just some cut up apples. Now, a lot of times when we think of superfoods, we think of weird things like spirulina and maybe chia seeds. I want you to think of apples as a superfood. Apples are one of the best detoxifying foods you can be eating. The skin of the apple has a fiber called pectin, and pectin is one of the best things for cleansing and detoxing. So if I'm ever like my skin's breaking out, I'll do 2 apples a day and it can just like clear it up like that. So really good for liver detoxing, all kinds of good stuff. Okay, so we have that, and then let's see if I can turn this off. This is the real test. I think I got it. We are gonna take off those beautiful tempeh bacon slices, and they are so nice and perfectly seared on both sides. Now, just like if you were cooking bacon at home, it's been about 20 years since I've had bacon, so I'm gonna imagine, but you use the paper towel lined plate just to get rid of any of that excess oil, okay? Now, once you use this, if you can't eat all of your tempeh bacon in one serving, you have serious problems, just kidding. You can actually wrap this up and keep it in the fridge, and it makes amazing TLTs, which in the vegan world, kind of like a BLT. You can put this in, I like to do it with tofu scramble or chickpea scramble, and it's absolutely amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna take my chef's knife, and I am just going to cut it into chunks. I'm gonna save that for my husband's breakfast tomorrow. He's been pretty good today. So we have that, and then we're gonna add our tempeh bacon. Actually, maybe I'll do one more. Nicole and I are hungry. One more piece of the bacon over just like that, and you have a beautiful salad. And this is amazing because you're not only getting a couple different vegetables, you know, it's okay. Thank you. A couple different vegetables, you're getting a great source of probiotics. And I don't even think I talked about this. The other amazing reason you want to consume tempeh is it's really high in protein and it's really high in fiber. So it's kind of the trifecta of everything that's good for you.
Hey, Chef, can you tell me what the name of that tempeh is again? I know you got it from Market Box. Is it San Diego tempeh?
Yeah. So really great question. Danny asked, where do you get the tempeh? I really only like this brand called San Diego Tempeh, and they're a soy-free brand. And a lot of people are having issues with soy, so this is amazing. It's made from chickpeas, sunflower seeds, and then it's fermented. And you can get this at pretty much all the Saturday and Sunday farmers markets, like Hillcrest and Lucadia, and Vista has it. And this is what Nicole uses in a lot of her meal service meals. So if you guys are interested, out of control, amazing meal service that I personally order from all the time because it's so delicious. So were there any other questions about the salad? This is what it looks like.
That was the one. That was the question. It looks amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
That looks so good. I'll be right over to try it.
Sorry about that. And then the soup. So we just went ahead and blended it. And I really love cilantro with this, but I had some microgreens, local microgreens. So I added those, and then our crispy chickpeas on top. And go ahead, if you guys are out this weekend at your local farmer's market and you see butternut squash, grab a ton of them, because you can actually keep them for 2 to 3 months if you store them properly in like a cool, dry place. So that's it. That's a wrap.
I had a couple messages while you were taking a little saute breather, and people said they love the carrots in the soup. And then also I had some friends say that they love making vegan mac and cheese with butternut squash. So that's also, yes, it's a secret. Yeah. So
love it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to thank our chefs and our mixologists so much for joining us. And I want to pass it back to Lori to answer any final voter questions that our guests may have. You know, I just got my ballot in the mail, and I feel like I've been waiting for this for months.
Exciting, right?
There's a lot of anticipation involved.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just want to reiterate, please, everybody register to vote and vote. Even if you don't vote everything on your ballot, still get your vote in, be an active voter, and vote on the issues that matter to you and the candidates that matter to you. You can check your registration to make sure you're registered at voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. You can track your ballot, which is exciting. It's where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov. And of course, in San Diego, the County of San Diego, you can always go to sdvote.com to get local voter information. And like I was saying, the secure Dropbox locations are listed there. The polling locations, that'll be on the back of your ballot, but you can go to the registrar here and get that information as well. So again, their website is sdvote.com. So election day is November 3rd. This year, we're thinking about this in terms of a season, election season. Yeah. My teammates and I have been working so hard already. We have on our website, as I referred earlier, an item called 101 Days of Action. You can register for that, and we will send to your inbox every day one easy, doable action you can take every day between now and the election to ensure that you are doing your part to be an active voter and to help increase and improve our democracy. So I encourage you all to sign up for that as well. It's really great to feel like you're involved and you're a part of your community and a part of the civic engagement that makes this country so great.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Lori, for sharing all of this information with us.
I'm delighted.
I want to thank all of our guests for joining us and for cooking with us. It's always so fun to cook along together, even though we can't be together. I also want to let people know that on October 21st, Kitchens for Good is having a very special dinner to celebrate our 5-year anniversary. And so we are going to be having quite a festivity with cooking demos with some of our amazing alumni, with Maya's Cookies. So I really hope that you can join us. We'll be sending you the link tomorrow to register for that event. It should be a lot of fun. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you,
everybody. Vote.
Yes.
Vote, people.
I just got my election.
There it is.
I did not spill any drink on it, so tonight was a real success.
It's a win.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. Thank you, guys. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.